Welcome all. Being 7:01 due to clock confusion, I'm calling to order the Monday, April 14th Planning and Development Committee. Would you please call the roll?
St.Charles.
Here.
Folks.
Here.
Bongard. Munns.
Here.
Lencioni.
Here.
Gem.
Here.
Petrilla.
Here.
Warbaugh.
Here.
Bessner.
Here.
Weber.
Here. Thank you all. I'm looking for a motion for the omnibus.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Munns, seconded by Warbaugh. Please call the roll.
All right. Munns.
Yes.
Gem.
Yes.
Petrilla.
Yes.
Warbaugh.
Yes.
Bessner.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
St.Charles.
Yes.
Folks.
Yes.
Bongard.
Not here, thank you. That passes. So moving on to item 4, and there are a few of these that are in succession. Russell, how do you want to handle these? When you're ready.
This one? Thank you. I will walk through each of these.
We're gonna handle them one at a time.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. So at last month's P&D meeting, there was some reference to a proposed annexation of property that's part of the Pheasant Run Industrial Development. The original industrial park subdivision plans from 2021, which are up on the screen, included driveway connections to Keel Road to the east, which is a private road on DuPage Airport Authority property, and that was providing an access to Route 64. Through discussions with West Chicago, the developer determined that the property would need to be annexed into St. Charles in order to construct these access drives. Staff's supportive of this annexation concept, as these access drives will improve the circulation within the project and also better distribute traffic trips that are generated from the development. Additionally, the city would not incur any improvement or service costs for the property as a result of the annexation, as the site is not developable for any buildings due to airport restrictions. In order to implement this annexation, there's a series of approval steps required, which are the 4 items listed on the agenda, and I'll speak to each of these briefly. It should be noted that West Chicago will need to take action first in order for the city to proceed with an annexation, both on the boundary agreement and then also disconnecting or de-annexing the property from West Chicago because these sites remain under their jurisdiction until they take that action. So the items will not be brought back before our council until West Chicago has completed those steps. So the first item that's up is the boundary line agreement amendment. And this exhibit shows the city's current boundary line with West Chicago and the proposed revision around the subject property that's shown in red. The draft's been prepared based on this boundary. No other changes are proposed with the city's boundary agreement with West Chicago. Staff's preliminarily noticed this for city council action as soon as May 5th, depending on West Chicago's schedule. But otherwise, it's been reviewed by the city attorney and there's a recommendation for approval.
So are we going to vote on this one right now?
If you'd like to, or I can move through each of them and you can vote at the end.
That's why I was asking. I mean, we can, does anybody here have I would say it makes plenty of sense to have Russell go step by step, explain them all, and then we'll come back through and vote them. Okay? No objections? Thanks.
Okay. The next item that's proposed is an annexation agreement with the landowner, DuPage Airport Authority, and the developer, who is GSI. GSI intends to acquire the western half of the annexed property. And the agreement outlines the development and use of the property, including rezoning to the M2 Limited Manufacturing District, subdivision planning, owner or developer responsibility for any easements or utility improvements or utility capacity for the site. There's also a reference to a preemption under federal law for the city to regulate airport uses. There's some requirements for stormwater detention design that are intended to prevent standing water that would attract waterfowl to the site, which can conflict with air traffic, and developer reimbursement for any city costs associated with the annexation. And this has been reviewed by the city attorney. It's in a final draft form, and staff scheduled a public hearing for this to be considered at City Council on April 21st, but it wouldn't be brought back to City Council for final action until later after West Chicago had approved their items. So this is subject to approval of that boundary line amendment from West Chicago. The next item is a petition for annexation submitted by the landowner, DuPage Airport Authority. This is subject to approval of the annexation agreement. And then the final item is a recommendation from the Plan Commission to rezone the property to the M2 zoning district upon annexation. This is the same zoning district as the industrial park and is compatible with the airport use. So they were recommending approval of that subject to the annexation. And that's the conclusion of the items.
Okay, in any one of these items or in total, does anybody have questions? Alderman Warble.
So I read that we're going to be reimbursed, so there's no cost to the city with any of this?
Correct.
Okay.
Alderman Sirklat.
Thank you. What's this 20-year term for state statutes? Does that mean that after 20 years they can de-annex?
Technically, yes, there's a process
Okay.
they can go through, but under state statute, the annexation agreements are limited to a maximum of 20 years.
Really? Okay, thank you.
Are there other questions? Okay. So I'm looking for, first, a motion for consideration of judicial boundary line agreement amendment with City of West Chicago.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bond, second by Silkaitis. Please call the roll.
Munn.
Yes.
Gem.
Yes.
Petrilla.
Yes.
Wirball.
Yes.
Bessner.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Silkaitis.
Yes.
Folk.
Yes.
That passes.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
Chairman. Mark actually made the other part of it. He said so kind of made the second motion.
Oh, well, let the record flow reflect that I have the second wrong. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so moving on, we have a consideration of an annex, looking for a motion regarding consideration of an annexation agreement with DuPage Airport Authority and GSI Family Investment of Arizona LLC.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Gem, second by Wirball. Please call the roll.
Munn.
Yes.
Gem.
Yes.
Petrilla.
Yes.
Wirball.
Yes.
Bessner.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Yes.
Silkaitis. Folk.
Yes.
That passes. Moving on, we're looking for a motion for consideration of a petition for annexation for 12.25 acres of DuPage Airport Authority property east of Pheasant Run Industrial Park.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Wirball, second by Bessner, please.
Right.
Please call the roll.
Munn.
Yes.
Gem.
Yes.
Petrilla.
Yes.
Wirball.
Yes.
Bessner.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Silkaitis.
Yes.
Folk.
Yes.
Finally, on this item, we have Plan Commission recommendation to approve a zoning map amendment upon annexation for Pheasant Run Industrial Park, former driving range property. Looking for a motion.
So move.
Moved by Gem,
Second.
second by Munn. Please call the roll.
Munn.
Yes.
Gem.
Yes.
Petrilla.
Yes.
Wirball.
Yes.
Bessner.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Silkaitis.
Yes.
Folk.
Yes.
That passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to housing updates and affordability analysis and C and Lou. How are you doing?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I don't have a presentation. Okay, thanks. Okay, each year, CD staff performs an analysis of the affordable housing situation in St. Charles, and the report is meant to help inform city decisions regarding housing policies and programs, as well as to track the city's standing with respect to the state's Affordable Housing Planning and Appeals Act. This act requires communities to have an affordable housing stock of at least 10% affordable. Affordable housing means housing that has a sales price within the means of a household at 80% AMI for owner-occupied units and 60% AMI for rental units, AMI meaning area median income. So I'll go over the findings of this year's report, which is for calendar year 2024. In total, 8.3% of housing units in St. Charles are considered affordable. This is down from 12.9% in 2023 and marks the lowest affordability finding since we started completing this report 15 years ago. It's also the first time we've been under 10% affordable. Breaking it down for owner-occupied units, 6.6% are affordable, meaning they are valued under $249,000, which is the affordable purchase price. This is down from 13% affordable in 2023. This drop in affordability was due to a 12% increase in home values coupled with only a 1.5% increase in income. On the rental side, affordability fell just slightly from 12.2% last year to 11.6% affordable this year. In general, rental rates have stabilized. However, the decrease in affordability is a function of the 460 new market rate rental units we added to our housing stock in 2024. So despite this year's affordability findings, St. Charles does remain exempt under the state act, and that's based on the state's 2023 finding of St. Charles at 17.2% affordable, and this status remains in place until the next state report is issued, which is expected in 2028. So the affordability issues we're experiencing here in St. Charles really do reflect trends seen nationwide. Staff does expect affordability to continue to be a challenge in coming years, and we also believe it to be in the city's interest to continue to be proactive with affordable housing policy, specifically implementation of the inclusionary housing ordinance. So last year, this committee expressed a preference for requiring developers to provide affordable units in new projects rather than accepting fee in lieu payments. And over the past year, this preference has been communicated to developers by staff and by this committee as well. And on the topic of the inclusionary housing ordinance fee in lieu, as a reminder, this is the fee charged to developers in lieu of providing affordable units within new residential projects. Council can set the fee on an annual basis. Otherwise, the existing fees remain in place. No changes to the fees are recommended this year. The fee calculation is based on various down payment percentages for an affordable home price at a home price as determined in the state's 5-year affordability report. So the fees were updated last year after the state issued its latest report. And it was intended that the fees would then remain as is until the next report in 2028. And as a side note, staff is planning to present an assessment of development impact fees in the next fiscal year, and this inclusionary housing fee will be considered as part of that assessment.
Is that everything that we have?
Yes, that was informational, but I can take any questions.
Okay, go ahead, Alderperson Moss.
It's not so much a question, it's more of a couple of statements, and it's more to this body than it is to you. So after reading through all of this information, it occurs to me that if we want to create housing in St. Charles, and our residents are not interested in large-scale development, in big buildings, in dense housing, meaning, you know, big apartment complexes, which I don't think that we are as a community, we really need to rethink how this program is administered and how we want to see St. Charles move forward with providing housing for our residents. Right now, small incremental housing developers are not really able to tap into this particular fund. From what I understand from talking to staff and talking to people at the county, it is difficult for small builders to get into that fund because they have to go through the state first, then they have to go through the county, and then by the time they get to our fund, it really isn't something that is, from a paperwork standpoint, useful for them. And I think that was resulting in a lack of that use. And it also reduces the incidence of infill in appropriate areas. So we have these spaces that they're just not being used for things like missing middle housing for quads and duplexes and fourplexes. These are the things that are actually being sought out by seniors, by young professionals, and are the more environmentally friendly ways to build, which is what people are looking for right now. So I think that we need to decide what we want for our future and design a program that actually reflects the values and the vision of the people in this city for what we want to see for St. Charles for 10, 15, 20 years in the future for building. And, you know, that's more of a statement and a question, I think, for the body to think about how we want to utilize this fund, because there's a fair amount of money in there, and we don't have it built in such a way that we can tap into it adequately, in my opinion. So that's it.
Other comments?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So on the rental side, it looks like it went down and became more affordable. So why is it? Is it saturated with apartments, or what's the reason for that?
Rental affordability fell just slightly, but rents, the reason for the decrease in affordability, the slight decrease, was just because we added 460 market rate units, so that kind of flipped the scale, even though rental rates being charged by some of the complexes actually went down last year, very slightly.
And then in the fourth ward, I don't know how it is in the other, but there's a lot, maybe the first ward, a lot of rentals in neighborhoods. Is there a way to calculate those in this formula, or is that kind of too difficult?
Unfortunately, no. We do include those units as part of the overall count of rental units, but we don't have any information on the rents charged for those units, so none of those are counted as affordable. And likely those may be the most affordable units in town, so it is likely an undercount of affordable units.
Okay, thank you.
In terms of rentals.
Yep. Thank you.
Go ahead.
And then you had stated that it's going to be challenging in the next couple of years. With developments that we have going on now, do you see that percentage changing at all, the 8.3 number, whether it's going up or stagnant, or?
Yeah, I think if we continue to add market rate housing, then that will continue to kind of decrease the overall share of affordable units, just due to the fact that the housing being added, when it is market rate, it's not considered affordable unless those projects do incorporate a percentage of
Right, no, I got you on that, but you had stated that you had let all the developers know that we are going towards units versus fee in lieu of, so I thought that's gonna take hold somewhere. So.
Yes, no, that is true, and it's a matter of holding to that position of requiring the affordable units, and then having developers willing to take that on and wishing to pursue the projects with incorporating those units.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Lencioni. Thank you for the presentation. Do you feel like there's been any projects that we have that have not come forward because of us having a position like that? I know we're open regardless, but I'm just curious, has there been any developers that say, is this going to be an issue? Do they not want to pursue something here because of that?
Not to my knowledge. I think did you want to take that?
Yeah, I can. We've had a few developers that we've talked about the importance of this and emphasized what council's directives have been. And just at the outset of those initial meetings, they've indicated that the price point at which they need to incorporate this in has been difficult for them. There's been other hiccups that have caused them to walk away from projects, but they have indicated that might be a sticking point if they got all the way through the process, and so it has come up.
But we don't discourage them from still coming forward?
No, correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I just want to make sure that we do follow the policy, that we have them build units versus giving us money to the fund. That's why I make sure that we do, at least for me, I want to make sure that we do this so we can, because that number kind of startled me when I read it, that we dropped that much. Now, according to state, we're real high. They use a different formula than we use, if I remember correctly. I just want to make sure that we do have money in the fund. We could use that to help developers to put in, which is the whole point of the fund. I just want to make sure we follow what we discussed before. Thank you.
Any other comments from this point? So I think we're good on that. Is that, so moving on to the Housing Trust Fund status?
Yes. So the purpose of this item is to provide an update on the use of the Housing Trust Fund and to receive feedback on future use. So as a reminder, fee in lieu payments from developers go into the city's Housing Trust Fund, and the trust fund is to be used to address affordable housing needs of low and moderate income households in St. Charles, and allowable uses of the fund are established in the city code. The current balance of the trust fund is about $2.3 million. The balance excluding funds approved for pending projects is $1.7 million. The city is using the Housing Trust Fund in 3 ways. We have a home rehab and accessibility program. That's a loan program, a first-time homebuyer loan program, and we participate in the Kane County Affordable Housing Fund. A total of $215,000 from the trust fund has been spent. This includes 6 home rehab loans, 2 purchase rehab projects, and construction of 1 new home. Over the past couple years, the city has approved $1.7 million in funding for proposed projects. One of these was $1.1 million for the Anthony Place 2 senior apartments project, which did not move forward because they did not receive IDA funding. 2 projects awarded funding are moving forward, totaling $660,000 from the trust fund. One is for a new house being constructed by Habitat for Humanity on the city-donated lot on Dean Street. The other is renovation of the Carroll Tower apartment building. So switching gears to use of the trust fund, future use of the fund. So the Housing Commission has been exploring creating an additional home rehab program due to the current program's low usage. So a partnership with Habitat for Humanity out of Northern Fox Valley is being considered. The concept is that the new program would be differentiated from the existing home rehab program, in that it would be a grant instead of a loan, and it would be available for lower income homeowners and to fund urgent repairs. So staff will present this item in the future to this committee once the Housing Commission has made a recommendation. The Housing Commission is also exploring the idea of rental assistance to assist low-income households with rental payments on a temporary basis. This is just an idea that is being considered by the Commission. They are learning more. Lazarus House staff will be attending the next Housing Commission meeting to share information about their program. And the final item to discuss is the Kane County Affordable Housing Fund, or the AHF. So the city has participated in this county fund since 2018. The fund is a combination of federal funding sources that the county receives, funds from Elgin and funds from St. Charles. So the AHF is the primary mechanism by which developers of affordable housing can request use of the city's housing trust fund, and all of the projects that have been completed and approved besides the home rehab program loans were done through the AHF. So the county handles administration of this fund. They review and vet applications, and they do everything from setting up agreements and loan documents. So in 2018, the city entered into an IGA with Kane County to participate in the AHF, and we allocated $416,000 from the trust fund to be made available for projects in St. Charles. And last year, additional funds were added for the Carroll Tower project. There are no remaining city funds in the AHF, and Kane County plans to release its annual request for proposals in June. City Council would need to allocate funds in order to participate in the RFP. So I would welcome any feedback on future use of the trust fund, and specifically on allocation of housing trust funds to the county AHF.
Thank you for the presentation. So I just have a comment on the home rehab and accessibility loan program. So I love the idea of being able to assist people, especially seniors on fixed income, with the urgent home repairs like a roof, mechanicals. Just talking to a lot of them, that's some of the challenges they face. So when do you expect something like this to come back? Is this next year, or is this 6 months? What's the anticipation?
This year. Yeah,
this
we're
year?
working, we've been going back and forth with Habitat, and so I expect in the coming months.
Okay.
Hopefully this summer.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, the rental assistance, I'd like, when you guys have gathered your information, just a little bit more on how that could possibly work. I do have some reservations, but I want to see what the plan is before. I like how we're thinking outside the box, though, to help, but I'd like to see what the parameters would be around that before I could support.
Sure. Yeah, and rental assistance has been something historically that we have not done before.
Right.
We've not had interest in looking into it, so the Housing Commission just wants to learn more about it.
Yeah, I think it's great to explore everything and get ideas on the table. I think that's wonderful that we have that, but that's just one where it's like, yeah, I need a little bit more on that moving forward.
I'm just curious how frequently we could get updates on what the Housing Commission is looking at for these different ideas and programs.
Would you like an update next P&D meeting? I can provide an update.
If that's possible, I think we'd like to just hear what kind of information you're gathering. That would be wonderful.
Okay.
Just informational.
One of the things holistically, I never hear anybody talk about with some of the housing stuff is, obviously, rental assistance helps out, but obviously the property taxes that are connected to all of these things make things unaffordable as well. So has there ever been a discussion with the Housing Commission, with the county, the different taxing bodies that say, hey, if we identify a property that they need rental assistance for, shouldn't this be a holistic approach that the school is maybe getting a little bit less of a percentage in the city and the county to really address this thing, not just from the city perspective, like in a bigger picture? Has anyone ever talked about something like that?
It's kind of the elephant in the room is property tax situation, but we have not explored kind of that.
Sorry. You know how you eat an elephant?
One
One bite at a time. Thank you, that's all I got.
All the person Weber. Anything else?
No.
If there are no other questions, then thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay. Moving through, we have time for public comment, if there is any. Seeing none. Wait, is there one? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed you. Come on up. Just state your name for the record.
Thank you for your time tonight. When we're talking about housing initiatives, I think one of the things that should be approached as is aging in community. How do you keep seniors within your community? That kind of forces into, and it's kind of a multi-pronged thing. It's eat the elephant, and you just can't digest everything, but you look at property maintenance standards, you look at rental housing, you look at how everything ties together. Are these folks, what you're doing is getting in and getting engaged with the community when you're doing these inspections or getting out there property maintenance. Who needs help? What needs help? And then you can start to see how you can focus on those different areas and such. Affordability really starts at a state level. When you look at the unfunded mandates, you look at the mandates of the energy codes and other codes that then get straight passed down to the investment properties and that they're looking to loan on. Now, the state pressure is that you look at it from a poorly managed money standpoint. Locally, it's fantastic. Very impressed. But you really look at an investor from a tipping point. Are they going to get the return without getting those state loans or grants? If it's not a return on investment, they're not going to build here, or they're not going to build anywhere. They're going to go to some place where the land is cheap, or that they're going to find availability. I kind of revert back to the rental licensing and the property maintenance and the standards, how it all fits together. It's not about a hammer, and it's not about enforcement of making these people do what they got to do to maintain their property. It's identifying who needs help, what needs help, and maybe there's other resources within the county and such that can help something like that. And just a little touch on last week, it's just about some disruptions at the last meeting, okay? I think our city deserves better. I don't expect that engagement. I was very disappointed in that, Chairperson. The election is over, and the time should be spent for healing, not for disruptions. It's about an opportunity to engage with the community. Now, you look at that last meeting, that was April 7th, right? What happened April 4th in this community? We all read the newspapers, we all see the family. A tragic accident. When that time, it could have been spent talking about that family. It's just something to reflect on. Now, this family, Laskowski family, in our community with their family vehicle accident, is such a tragedy and loss. That's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there other comments from the public? Double checking, now I see that there are none. Comments from staff? Anything from on the dais? Okay, no additional items. We do have an executive session today, so I need a motion to go into executive session.
Weber will second.
Moved by Wirball, second by Weber. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Think we're done with the open portion of the meeting tonight?